It would have been a collective wish, Mr. Speaker, that upon our return from this long break, we shall be greeted by a rather positive and happy statement. Alas, that was not to be. Mr. Speaker, the last 3 weeks have been an absolutely traumatic period for a number of colleagues, and particularly for us in the North Tongu constituency. We have never experienced any disaster on this scale and magnitude in our lifetime. Mr. Speaker, imagine losing your home, valuables, farms, fish ponds, livestock, shops, schools, churches, mosques, and everything you have worked for all your life just in a split second. Well, Mr. Speaker, imagine living like a refugee in your own country. Imagine homeowners suddenly becoming homeless. Imagine becoming jobless overnight. Speaker, imagine watching violent flood waters take away your money, certificates, jewelry, wheelchairs, appliances, and electronic gadgets. Mr. Speaker, imagine children having no school to attend anymore. Mr. Speaker, imagine rice farmers watching their irrigation pump stations destroyed. Mr. Speaker, imagine nuclear families separated in different classrooms at various displaced camps for the first time in their lives. Mr. Speaker, this is not a horror movie. This is our distressing and agonizing new reality. Mr. Speaker, according to the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, since the Volta River Authority commenced spilling of excess water from the Akosombo and Bond dams on the 15th of September 2023, North Tongu has been the hardest hit. From the latest NADMO statistics, out of the 39,333 displaced people across some 11 constituencies, about a third of that figure can be found in the North Tongu constituency. Currently, Mr. Speaker, NADMO reports that 12,633 people have been displaced in the North Tongu constituency. Mr. Speaker, the breakdown is as follows. Adult male, 3,151. Adult female, 3,285. Children male, 2,982. Children female, 3,134. People living with disabilities, 81. A total of 69 communities in my constituency are affected and left in ruins by the VRA-induced floods. NADMO also submits that more than 1,500 houses have been destroyed by the VRA-induced floods in my constituency alone. Mr. Speaker, entire towns and villages have been submerged underwater. Mepe, which is the national epicenter of this disaster, has virtually become a ghost water town. Many places in Mepe we commuted to and fro by road now require a voyage via boats and canoes. It is not an exaggeration, Mr. Speaker, to assert that some villages now exist only on paper or only through historical recall. In some of these villages, as we have witnessed in Siko, in Asimakope, in Volukome, in Fumadokope, in Jimakope, Memoji, Kejikope, Lina, Tojokope, Awutoweme, Degome. Mr. Speaker, these villages have virtually nothing left standing. Mr. Speaker, I must stress that constituencies such as South Tongu, Central Tongu, Keta, Anglo, Ketu South, South Dai, North Dai, Afajato South, all in the Volta region, have similar stories. Other constituencies in Oti, Eastern, and the Greater Accra regions, such as Ada and Shai Osudoku, are also reeling under these harrowing effects. Mr. Speaker, returning to North Tongu, the 12,633 displaced constituents of mine are now being accommodated in 21 displaced camps. Mr. Speaker, these 21 displaced camps are in schools. I must emphasize that apart from the St. Kizito Senior High School in Mape, the remaining 20 schools were not established as boarding schools and therefore do not have facilities for decent residential accommodation, such as beds, bathrooms, and kitchens. There are 20 bare day schools with nothing more. Even in the case of St. Kizito Senior High School, which is the most populous displaced camp, boarding facilities are stretched, as many of the 1,500 displaced people crammed in there are compelled to sleep in classrooms. Mr. Speaker, no alternative housing arrangement was made for these displaced persons by the VRA or government before and during the spillage. Sadly, no alternative housing provision has been made even now. This has meant that people are living under extremely congested, insanitary, and inhumane conditions. Take, for example, the Agbetiko displaced camp. This is a basic 6-unit classroom block, now housing 1,250 displaced persons. The Mape RCJHS 6-unit classroom block is also forced to accommodate more than 800 displaced persons. The Bator RC 3-unit primary school also depressingly accommodates more than 250 displaced persons. So, Mr. Speaker, despite our efforts to provide portable toilets, mattresses, tents, and polytanks, health conditions in these congested camps are fast deteriorating. Doctors I brought in from the Ghana Medical Association have warned about increasing cases of respiratory diseases, cholera, typhoid, and skin infections. The contamination of flood waters which have taken over cemeteries, public toilets, mortuaries, refuse dams, and sewage systems have further complicated public health concerns. The fear of an epidemic outbreak is real. Mr. Speaker, roads have been damaged, water and electricity have been cut, irrigation farming has been destroyed. Mr. Speaker, what is equally worrying is the disruption of formal education. As long as these displaced camps continue to exist in schools, children cannot resume normal academic work. Already, these children have lost 3 weeks of academic time as their peers across the country are in school. They will soon be called upon to write the same BEC and the same WASI. It is worth noting, Mr. Speaker, that last week, the Minister of Education led a delegation from the Ministry of Education to come assess the precarious situation. We await government's much-needed response in that regard. I must add, Mr. Speaker, that even though we have recruited volunteer teachers to assist in classes under trees in these displaced camps, that can only be an interim mitigating solution and not an appropriate resolution of the matter. The situation, Mr. Speaker, in our affected communities is really dire and demands urgent national attention. This is undoubtedly a humanitarian crisis with far-reaching multiple consequences in every aspect of our lives. It is the reason we have been agitating that President Akufo-Addo take steps to declare a national emergency now. This national disaster, Mr. Speaker, has raised so many unanswered questions. 1. Why did VRA not adequately sensitize stakeholders on the unprecedented scale of this particular spillage? 2. Why was there no national conversation and preparedness for a spillage on this scale? 3. Why did people have to be caught unaware? 4. Why were affected persons not properly informed and supported to relocate to higher ground? 5. Why did VRA not engage members of parliament before, during, and after the spillage? 6. Why was alternative decent housing not prepared for all affected persons? 7. Why use bare day schools as displaced camps under these inhumane conditions? 8. Why was the spillage done in this destructive manner instead of a better planned gradual approach? 9. Why has an engineering solution for using excess water in the Akosombo reservoir not been pursued after all these decades? 10. Why is there no insurance package for affected communities? 11. Why is VRA and the central government silent on resettlement and full compensation? Mr. Speaker, for the many lives and properties that have been destroyed by this VRA-induced spillage, we owe the hundreds of thousands of suffering, destitute, and displaced people who brought us here to commence an urgent parliamentary inquiry into this entire VRA spillage nightmare. It is our appeal to you, Mr. Speaker, that this respected House sets up a parliamentary inquiry which must be urgently convened on this matter of enormous public importance. Ultimately, Mr. Speaker, this august House must resolve to lead the charge for immediate resettlement. No human being deserves to be living in classrooms under those horrifying conditions. It is a national outrage that calls for the displaced to be relocated to the abandoned Saglemi housing units have not received positive response from government. This House, Mr. Speaker, must also ensure that full compensation is paid to all affected victims. It is refreshing, Mr. Speaker, that the Finance Minister, the Honorable Kenneth Furiata, has toured the most affected communities. As I respectfully told him on his tour, we expect the 2024 budget to reflect the shock he expressed when he embarked on that laudable assessment mission. Mr. Speaker, kindly permit me to use this opportunity to offer special and profound gratitude to Ghanaians for their amazing solidarity, compassion, love, and fellow feeling. Individuals such as the Right Honorable Speaker has donated 100,000 Ghana cedis. The media, corporate Ghana, foundations, NGOs, churches, Muslim organizations, the Minority Caucus, and Mr. Speaker, let me add that this morning the Majority Chief Whip, the Honorable Frank Anodompre, informed me that the Majority Caucus will also be making a donation soon. The Speaker must also commend former President Mahama for his donation. The Speaker, Ghanaians have really been phenomenal with their outpouring of compassion and solidarity. We shall never forget this great example of what it means to be a Ghanaian family and what it means to be a human being. We also thank the international community, such as the UN agencies and embassies, for their support and kind assistance. Mr. Speaker, may this House, under your leadership, resolve that we all shall do what we can to ensure that never again shall this monumental tragedy occur in our nation. May God help all the displaced victims survive this ordeal.